Hello and welcome to the How to Travel Vegan podcast. I'm your host, Tom Simak, and today we're interviewing Bree and Ben from itsbreeandben.com. Alrighty, today is a goodie. Bree and Ben are bloggers and they're also digital nomads. So today we're going to cover a lot of topics mainly pertaining to travel and more specifically eco travel. So hopefully by the end of the episode, you're actually going to leave with tangible tips that you can apply once the travel scene resumes. But I'm not going to jabble on for too long. Let's get right into today's episode. So Bree and Ben, thank you so much for joining us on the How to Travel Vegan podcast. How are you guys doing this evening?
We're doing great, Tom. Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Anytime. I hope you guys are staying indoors. And just to quickly crack us off on the beginning of this episode, I'd love for you to give us a quick intro on how long you've been vegan, what made you make the transition, and of course, at the end, add your favorite documentary, vegan or not.
Sure. We actually started becoming vegan in 2015, but we didn't start it right away.
We transitioned slowly.
Yeah, like there was 1 week in October that year where we ended up not touching meat, and we weren't really big.
Jeez, that's very specific. October, 5 years ago.
It was the last week of October. We know it because it was like right after we took this trip to Palm Springs. We were just like, huh.
Yeah, exactly that. Like we went for a whole week, and like I said, we weren't really big meat eaters. We just happened to not eat any meat for that week, and we just know. Like I looked at Bree, and I was like, "Hey, I feel kind of like more energetic and feeling healthier. What about you?" And
so I eliminated the meat, and then soon eliminated the fish, and then we just stopped losing our taste for all of that. And by 2018, we were getting rid of dairy as we were going on the road, and so basically 2018 is when we became vegan.
That's kind of our advice to those who are going through that process. Like, don't cut it cold turkey. Like, just gradually.
I mean, you can if you want, but your body will take some time to adjust, and it might be easier to do it long term if you kind of let yourself be easy with it.
Yeah. In other words, like, just kind of know how your body reacts.
Yeah. The point is that there's no wrong way. Like, do whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. But like, for me, by 2018, I wasn't really touching any animal product at all. Like I'm trying to think if I did by accident even, and no.
I had to go to some restaurants where they did serve a couple of things that were vegetarian, and since we were, let's say, in the middle of Missouri, it was kind of really hard to avoid. Yeah. But it was like maybe a little aioli that they forgot to take off, or a bun that was brioche, so it had egg in it, and I was like, oh, okay, fine. Like just kind of.
Yeah, these were like remote places where the word vegan hadn't really entered the public lexicon.
I'm not gonna get that now. In terms of the documentaries, we're actually just starting to get into the documentaries. I'm very sensitive to a lot of those visuals, so we're focusing mainly on the health ones. So my favorite is What the Health, and I liked Game Changers as well. Ben, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, those two definitely are the most recent ones. But what kind of got me onto thinking more about my health was a documentary that was done in, I believe it was 2006. I'll double check on it, but it was
an old one.
Yeah, it was a documentary called King Corn, and it looked into how corn products, specifically high fructose corn syrup, were common in all our food products, everything from drinks to common staples we don't even think about.
Condiments.
Condiments for sure. I remember being in high school and going into college and seeing that, and I don't know what it was exactly. It made me realize it made me start thinking more about what was in my food. And
then you look at labels and you're frightened.
Yeah, exactly. And then I did exactly that. I looked at all the labels, everything I was eating. I was like, oh my God. And so I started just kind of thinking, well, I wasn't vegetarian by that time, but at that point I was definitely cutting out chips and soft drinks, basically all would be considered junk food. And then a few years later, then jumped into veganism. So it kind of started from
I had to ease him back into some desserts.
Yeah,
and then be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to take it that strictly. And some things can be healthy.
Yeah.
It's just, you just don't need to buy the thing that's packaged at the grocery store. You can
it's true. Like, there were certain cakes that, and other products that were commonly associated like as fast food for many years. And I conditioned myself to like lose the taste for it after watching that documentary. I was just like, nope, we got to touch that again. And then when vegan equivalents came around, or more healthy equivalents came around, it kind of took me a while to get over that and be like, okay, maybe should I eat this? Is this okay? And then I eventually learned like, oh wait, I can still have fun and not feel like I'm lacking anything and be vegan.
For sure.
That was a great thing.
And there's so many simple ways to make like common foods. Like the one I haven't tried, but I've got all the ingredients for is like the chocolate mousse avocado, where it's just avocado, maple syrup, and cacao. Like that's 3 ingredients. And I haven't done it, but it looks freaking mint, like really good.
I've had a couple at restaurants, but I haven't done that at home yet.
We haven't done it at home, but yeah, when we've had it, it's been like a delicacy. And it was just like,
right.
Like, oh, fuck. Oh, man.
Yeah, really good.
Taking me back.
If you guys are still getting into docos, something I really recommend if you're a normal person to have Netflix is a series called Rotten. It's really interesting. It's like it's a series. It's not a veganism because there's heaps of docos out there, but it actually goes into common industries and manufacturing. So it's really good if you're into like efficacy, sustainability, but also are curious. So one episode goes into like cacao farming and like how they treat like the people in Africa, and they talk about like chocolate and bee farming, and they do like like from plastics to just avocado farming, and they talk about like the cartel and like how the cartel affects that. And it's really interesting. If you're into docos, highly recommend. Haven't spoken about that enough.
That's great. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you're right. They're just
I've done a lot of reading about those things, so I'm very much aware that that a lot of people don't treat the farmers and the workers well. So we try to always already buy the brands that we know their practices. But I think we should definitely look into that.
Yeah.
On a day when we're mentally stable.
Yeah.
It's like we can handle it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the avocado one, like people getting murdered. Like, because when they stopped the drug cartels, they started doing avocado cartel because it's such a profitable business when it boomed in California. Anyway, totally different episode. But you guys are really big on traveling, whether it's US, Canada, or wherever, but also eco-friendly tourism. And I've read a video post and you talk a lot about that, and there's heaps I want to dive into. But I just want to start with something that gives us a base. Where's your favorite travel destination?
Oh gosh, that's like trying to choose a child. That's like
I'll start.
Every parent can choose a child. Let's be honest.
You're absolutely right.
Did you call my dad? Let's see. I will have to say that Philadelphia is actually one of my favorites, just because it surprised me so much in how great of a vegan restaurant scene it has. Also, I just love the architecture. I love that the tourism is around history and not like Instagram spots and barbecue.
We're looking at ULA.
Yeah. It's a whole nother beast.
Well, not barbecue, it's about healthy food and Hollywood and Instagram spots. But so I have a love-hate relationship with LA. I think actually that's a song that Kelsey Ballerini just came out with. So I'm sorry for literally quoting the line. But so Philadelphia is my most surprised by, destination I'm most surprised by. I have a really good connection with New York City because it was the place that I went to. It was my first solo travel experience. So I have a lot of wonderful memories there, and I went to a lot of Broadway shows, and I worked a lot of Broadway shows because I interviewed a lot of people. So I love always going back there. And Vancouver is also a big one for both of us. We just love how it's a beautiful connection between the nature and small businesses and the population, and it's a very harmonious city, and it's not super big, so you can get around, and the landscapes, you can just go from the beach to the mountains in about 20 minutes, and it's just stunning. So those are just 3 I'll throw out.
And for the foodies, Vancouver, Philadelphia, New York are freaking hot spots. They're so good for food. So
Portland, Oregon as well.
Portland, yet to look into Portland, but I know New York had probably the most options. One of the most options I've ever seen.
Options, but in terms of restaurants per capita, they're actually not up there. It tends to be on the smaller cities. So like Portland, it's a lot easier to find vegan food. New York, since I've walked a lot of it on foot, you kind of have to like maneuver your way around to find something that's affordable or something that's not a veggie burger still. I mean, you can find a vegan Korean place, you can find a vegan burger place, you can find a health food buffet, you can find everything, but they're kind of in their spots and they're really spread out unless you kind of get to Brooklyn. So it's still a lot to manage in New York.
So how do you guys travel around? Is it by car? Do you fly?
By car. In 2017, that's when our travels began. We got married in February of that year, and our lease was coming up on our apartment. And
March 31st.
Yeah, exactly. So like we have 1 month
Jeez,
after
you and
our
your
wedding.
dates.
Yeah. Some just click in, and then others just don't really, like, others just like fleet. It's really weird. But I remember for that one, yeah, we were like looking at each other thinking, okay, we could stay here. We were thinking about moving from LA anyway, but we had wanted to do a cross country trip. And with the lease coming up and both of us working remotely full time for other jobs, we had the income to sustain us while we put our stuff in storage and do that. So it was just a perfect storm of the lease expiring and having the finances and the job situations to do that. So,
plus, it was cheaper to travel than to stay in LA.
It was, believe it or not, it was saving us money to be on the road than having an apartment in LA where we were. So it, again, the reason that it behooved us to do that. So to kind of clarify, of that year, we drove up from LA to Vancouver, went across Canada to Halifax.
The farthest end, Nova
Scotia, got to the Atlantic coast there, and then drove over the border.
All the way down to DC.
Yeah.
And then all the way back to LA. And then the next year, we hit more red, like conservative destinations in the US. And we drove from San Francisco down to New Orleans, up to New York, and then through Louisville, Kansas City, down to New Mexico, and back to LA. So we kind of
we
went
wanted
the red route.
We wanted to hit the places we didn't get the first time as we drove through the US, because we wanted to just learn as much as we can about this country, especially in the era.
I mean, where it tends to be liberal, it tends to be more vegan friendly. So we basically hit the more vegan friendly spots first, and then we wanted to find the places that weren't as, and then still see how they're managing it.
Yeah. And much to our surprise, there's actually there are like little enclaves of like really strong vegan communities within even the most, what are thought of to be the most conservative areas in the country. So that was reassuring.
There are vegans everywhere.
Are you like, everywhere, we're spreading like a freaking, where do you start with your research to, where do you do your research when you're going to these places for food? Like, are you, because you're traveling by car, are you then just eating out a majority of the time? Or are you doing like an Airbnb type thing?
So we do a mix of like homestay, Airbnb, and then it's mainly Airbnbs.
Yeah.
But we do our best to make sure we stay only with people. So we're just contributing to their household income. We're not just staying at places on their own and taking away from, an apartment away from the community. So we stay with people most of the time. Or if they're out of town, because a lot of people just do Airbnb while they're on vacation, we'll, stay in their house alone, maybe watch a dog, and we'll do that. So since we're usually there for at least a week at a time, sometimes 2 or 3, especially if it was 2017, we always have a grocery trip. So unless I'm invited to restaurants, because sometimes, because I'm also a food journalist, so I am invited to a lot. It depends how many I'm invited to, and we'll schedule around that. But some weeks we, let's say, cook 15 out of the 20 meals and go out for 6 or 7. Some in Portland, Oregon, I was invited to 18 meals. So in 1 week. So I didn't cook at home except for breakfast.
The leftovers that week were, wow.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you've just peaked like 100% of ears saying that you're a food journalist. For the majority of people that don't know what exactly is that? How does someone become that? And what's the best meal you've ever had?
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does one become that? So I'm kind of I'm a special situation because I was helping a friend of mine grow her magazine. And so I kind of worked my way up from just contributing entertainment to, I was interested more in lifestyle. And eventually I was running the magazine as the content manager. And I created my own columns. And basically I started a column called Visiting as a Vegan Vegetarian. And tried to show people that there were places in the US that were vegan friendly that they wouldn't have thought of. So I went to places like Minneapolis and Milwaukee and Whitefish, Montana. I was like, guys, it's here. So that was my first go about. In the last couple of years, I've just started pitching for freelance, and I've written for Craft Beer Mag. I've written for Veg News a couple times. It all starts with pitching and just having some good articles that you can submit and having a good idea. And some people want listicles, some people want reviews. And
So how does someone start? Basically, the main thing to start food journaling is just basically doing it for free, kind of a little bit for restaurants, and then using that to then pitch bigger, say, agencies like Veg News or what have you.
Yeah. So unfortunately, right now,
obviously it's a bit
journalism
hard.
is kind of a dying art. So the paid positions are far and few between.
And by paid positions, you mean like those who are like contracted to be there and
Either
travel for a magazine?
editors, contractors, freelancers. Just any paid opportunities aren't that, they're not really around anymore. So a lot of people just start with going to restaurants with their own money, taking photos on their own, creating an Instagram account, and then either launching their own website and using that as something to submit, or getting that resume built by going to restaurants and practice writing on your own and pitching magazines to your ideas. It just takes a lot of pitching.
That's so cool. That is totally, I didn't know you were a food journalist. It's really, really cool. Because you are a rare breed these days.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a food journalist. I did lifestyle. So I did food. I did a lot of entertainment. I did over 500 interviews for entertainment alone. And I had a natural beauty column as well. So I actually worked as a beauty box manager for a couple of years. So it's kind of just overall healthy living, and it's many different branches.
Yeah. So, and you forgot? What is the
best meal I ever had?
Best meal you've ever had? Yeah.
It's a hard question for any human, so
no,
I'm not expecting
for me.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
Here we go.
So my favorite restaurant in the country is Veg. It's in Philadelphia. They also have a sister restaurant called Fancy Radish in Washington, D.C. But the way they play with vegetables is just completely innovative, and just it's so beautiful. It's so tasty, and they have something called they made fondue out of rutabagas. Like
I don't even know what a rutabaga is.
It's vegetable.
Yeah, I'm pretty damn sure it's just like a root vegetable that they just cooked and made super creamy.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
But it's amazing. And you dip a pretzel bread into it. So
yeah,
it's good.
It's like being in a 5-star restaurant, like,
and you don't pay those prices.
Yeah,
so
without the prices for sure. And but it's all vegan, and it's just for us, not that it was all bad before, but I just remember being there. I was just like, this is like as classy and just as sophisticated as you can get.
Yeah.
Like, it was such a treat.
I also love this amazing tom kha soup at this place called Katai in Portland, Oregon. It was actually one of the first places I reviewed along our 2017 trip. And I just remember sitting down and then putting down this gorgeous bowl and having all the flowers around. And they were telling me how they took out the fish sauce and they replaced it and they made their own veganized version. And after giving me the whole backstory, and I just took this spoonful and it was like heaven. So, and I just remember sitting there with the rain falling. I was like, this is the best. So those are my two.
Those are your two. So I want to dive into two things, one travel related, one food related, just there. So you were in a car for what, 1 year, two, driving so like long distances. Like this is not like LA to San Fran. This is.
We did 40,000 miles in the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I don't know what that means.
So for the Aussies, that's like 70,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the translation there.
That's all right.
Yeah, but we started off with a car that had like 30,000 miles on it, and then just racked it up.
We doubled our car essentially.
So that's some pretty crazy numbers. Now you've made.
Sorry. I just want to mention also we did it in Prius too, so it wasn't like a big truck or anything like that.
Yeah, well, Prius is a smart way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, thanks.
What were the mistakes you made doing that? Because I'm assuming there were a bloody handful. Did you like screw up at all? Like, especially driving those long distances, you obviously stopped a bit, but what issues did you come across?
I'm a great planner. So we actually didn't come across many mistakes except for the lessons that we've had to learn were that a lot of people aren't that honest with Airbnb profiles, or if they say, oh yeah, it's okay to do whatever you want, it's okay to work in here, it's okay to come and go, even though we've always been very polite, sometimes the hosts change their minds. And so we've had a little, some tiffs, some little, not fights per se, but some disagreements with some hosts that we've tried to negotiate with. And
Yeah, the lessons that we took away there is that always have open communication with anyone who's either hosting you or with the hotel you're staying at. And the reason why is because they might say, it's not that they're being duplicit or that they're lying. It's just they might not know what they're comfortable with until something has occurred that they realize, oh, I'm not comfortable. So for us, it'd be like if we were working during the day in the living room, they originally said it would be okay. And then they realize, oh, actually, I'm actually not that comfortable with it. Can you like move to the other room? It'd be like that kind of thing. It'd just be like, oh, well, okay, we didn't know we were, like, just kind of surprised rather than tips.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the biggest lesson. And I think it's not just for staying in a host, like with a host, but also for just traveling. Never be afraid to ask questions and get to know what people really are thinking, because it only helps you learn more about not just how to stay safe, but also what the local culture is like, how people tick in that area. And it's a great way to go.
What kind of questions are we talking? Like, what would you ask? Just, hey, this is how we work. We need to make sure this is okay.
Yeah, so like a typical Airbnb stay, we just go and like meet the host, be like, "Oh, hey Tom, how's it going?" So we just arrived. Just want to let you know, we have to work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Is it okay if we could work in the living room, just so we could like stretch our legs and get out of the bedroom if we have to work during the day? And
we also ask about like kitchen hours and like if it's okay to cook, what kind of smells are they allergic to anything?
Exactly.
So kind of work around that.
Just their own, like, not like what's your routine, but just knowing like what their expectations are and what their typical routine is. So either you don't interfere with that or you can kind of work with it. It's just being compassionate to those who are hosting you and that you get coexist with for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you touched on earlier with staying with people, like that's actually really cool. And because I've never thought of it like that. And I think that's a really nice way to stick it in the community instead of a branded hotel, as good as it is. But obviously that's a challenge someone has to expect and to be able to adapt to. So tips much needed. Did you have something to add to that? I noticed you were tipping a bit.
Yeah. And another thing that I came across is that, so since I am a big planner and I didn't get to travel a lot as a kid, I always, every time we go to a destination, I always look into everything that I could possibly want. And sometimes there's so many different categories. I've learned not to overbook because
where's the line? How do you know?
I kind of know how long it takes me to do certain things, and then I try to leave a little bit of a buffer. So let's say if I want to be in this neighborhood to look at some boutiques, or if I need to stay in this, maybe if I need to go see a show, I know maybe I'll leave an hour or so after. If let's say we know the star, they invite us backstage or something, so I'll leave some time. Or if I'm in the park and I want to exercise, I'll leave some time to maneuver around tourists who might be slowing the traffic down, or just trying to predict some of the flows that might be happening in the city and where my energy.
That would obviously come with trial and error, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It's basically knowing what your habits are and how quickly you can move around and what you're familiar with, and
when you'll need coffee.
Yeah, exactly. When you need coffee or when you get a bite.
What's your coffee of choice?
Ooh.
It really depends. I'm that kind of person that really tries to say, hey, what's your signature drink? And try to go with it, unless it's too sweet. But I'm pretty chill. So I'm okay with just like a plain almond milk cappuccino, or if I'm really fancy, there's a place here that does like a lavender latte, and I will do that. But I generally don't add in too many.
Yeah, you're not a really sweet person with
no,
your
not
coffee.
at all.
No, I'm surprised when you do add like sugar or something.
Well,
like, you okay?
There's like too much lavender.
Too much lavender. You must be really tired. For me, my go-to is black coffee. I don't know. I just love the nuttiness of it.
So European. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Actually, it's true. I do like to dip like chocolate into it, and I didn't realize that was a European thing.
Well, that's American, surely.
Dipping chocolate into it?
Is that European?
Really? They do it in France a lot. When I lived in France, a lot of people did it. You just take a little tranche de chocolat, and then
the American thing is the whole candy bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Whole candy bar, and in certain places, a whole cake. You dip it into your coffee mug, and then you eat the whole cake. I'm joking.
Ben, I'm going to abuse your second language for a second. Can you say for the listeners in French, I don't eat meat, I don't eat dairy or cheese or milk. Do you know how to say those kind of things?
Oui, absolument. Je ne mange pas de viande, du fromage ou le lait. Après moi, c'est dégoûtant.
Okay, can you break that down for a second? What is I don't eat meat, or what's because what's vegan in French is what, vegano or something?
There are two words, and I actually found this out in Montreal. There's vegan, for example, and then there's a vegetarian. It looks like the word veg Italian.
Vegetarian.
And yeah, for like a week, I was just like, what does this mean? And actually, I just asked someone at a vegan restaurant, well, not French, but just vegan. I was just like, can you tell me what the difference is? And they're just like, there really is none. We just like to have two words for it.
Yeah, it's not like one's vegetarian, one's vegan. They're both vegan.
Yeah. Well, even then, that's confusing. Vegetarian,
Yeah.
you eat dairy.
Yeah.
This
True.
I turned to him a lot in Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. I was
for Canada. Yeah. So, can you break down? Just say slowly, not as quick as before, because I'm not French, bro.
Sorry, man.
That's okay. You got excited, and it was so cute.
He loves French.
Yeah.
I am vegan.
Je suis vegan.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Someone can stop and replay that if they want to say. And can you say, I don't eat meat?
Je ne mange pas du viande.
Okay. I don't eat dairy.
Je ne mange pas les produits laitiers.
Okay. And I don't eat eggs.
Je ne mange pas du vieux.
Okay.
Oof. That's a hard one. Sorry. Oof.
That's okay. Boof.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Well, that's a little French lesson for you. Well, I've got you. Why not abuse that?
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been
He's
French for 10 minutes with Ben Hagerty.
So, Bree, you mentioned before that you did a lot of traveling solo as well, and now you're obviously traveling as a couple. A lot of people that transition, especially for myself and my girlfriend, it's been a lot of trial and error, learning different things that we are, how we travel. What tips do you have someone making that transition, or how do you find that you went traveling as a couple, and what things have you learned there?
Okay, so there's a couple questions within that. So the first one is, how did I transition from like solo to couples? Okay. Sorry. Ben and I just work very well together. So the way that I plan for myself is very similar to the way I plan for us. I just make sure now I incorporate both of what we're interested in, but he's also very interested in what I'm interested in. So it's actually pretty seamless for us. Yeah. So it's not like I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to this restaurant. Well, you go to the comic book shop. I'm like, I'll go to the comic book shop. Like, I don't care. And because I want to talk to the owner, that's fine with me. So the only thing I've done differently is that I think I maybe spend more time doing photography if it's on my own.
Yeah.
And I maybe walk around more aimlessly if I'm on my own, and we have a bit more direct when we're together because we have our plans. In terms of how to make it work, I would say just like identify your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to planning. Whether it's driving, whether it's planning, whether it's getting your hotel situated and packing, know where your strengths lie, and seriously know where your weaknesses are and try to hand those over. Yeah. Give yourself some time to travel separately if you can, because as we're going long term, during 2017 when he was working like a normal schedule, I would actually go out on my own for 3 or 4 days out of the week and come back. So it was kind of a mix of solo travel, and I came back to couples travel with that.
We would travel a lot in the evening. I remember that.
Yeah.
Like
so when you were off work, I'd take you to a restaurant, or we go out in the morning. So we had our own separate times to explore. So we got to get what we wanted out of the destination on our own. But overall, just make time for what you want, because otherwise you might come back and you'll have resent and be like, well, we didn't go to that restaurant we wanted to, or we didn't get to go to that show or that park because you wanted to shop or something. Like, you don't want to like come back to do that. So
right.
Know
so
your
if you can add some extra time, do it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just know know each other's expectations.
Not just expectations, but also what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
What they're like for. I think what works for us is that I'm always candid with like my interests and just letting you know what they are, because I know you're
Like you wanted to do the presidential libraries.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I was in the US, I was kind of interested to see what the presidential libraries were like. And not that I was any politically, but it was part of history I really wanted to learn, and it was all there. So
on our route from Kansas City to Albuquerque, we just took an hour. Where was it? Outside of Topeka. I sat in the car and maybe did some stretches, and he explored the museum for an hour.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I wasn't like, get away, you're not allowed here. But I was just like, hey, do you want to go? And you're like, okay.
We had a full car of our stuff. I didn't feel like abandoning it in a small town.
Also, we were really tight in our shoulders. So I think we really needed to stretch.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to the museum like, oh
yeah.
So he did his thing. I did mine, and we were on the road.
It's all just about being open with what your expectations and your wants are. Yeah. And if you could do that, then you guys can plan anything.
Totally. And on the topic of travel, I know eco travel is something that you guys are also very passionate about.
Very much.
How are you eco-friendly when you travel?
Let's see. Thanks. So
it's a passion project.
I'm always, for me, it is very important to me because I do see, especially coming from my career before this was being a travel agent. So I kind of
I'm a travel agent.
You are?
Oh, yeah, not a good time to be a travel agent.
No, exactly that. We're not exactly.
We're a travel writer.
Yeah, we're not exactly essential. Let's just put it that way for all the listeners out there. We're not exactly essential at this time, but
you will be very soon.
Yeah, probably when everyone's rebooking. So yeah, as Thomas shares, as you're booking clients and making trips for them, you're also kind of seeing the ways that industry is affecting the environment and local cultures in a way that's devastating. So I've committed myself to just looking to always want to be a student and wanting to learn the ways of how I can be more eco-friendly as I go along. So one of the first things I did was get rid of the disposables in the car. So if you were looking at our glove box, we have reusable utensils, reusable metal straws, and we ditched all of the disposable napkins and we just replaced them with rags and handkerchiefs, actually. And
we have some food containers.
Yeah, exactly that.
We have our most essential one would be coffee mugs.
Yeah, exactly. Reusable coffee mugs as well. Actually, there's a brand that we like from Australia very much. It's called Keep Cup.
So, we love Keep Cup. Everyone here has a Keep Cup.
Yay!
Yeah, I don't have it right here, but yeah, it's right on the.
We have a few.
Yeah,
it's a thing. Like even if it's not a Keep Cup, like the brand, you call everything a Keep Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
It's like become a saying. Yeah, it's like Kleenex. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, we're definitely in that field there too. We love them.
I put my lavender latte in my lavender Keep Cup.
Yeah, exactly. We have a Keep Cup.
It's a weird thing.
And on that, I think in now in 2020, it's a non-negotiable to have a Keep Cup, or because it's just so accessible. It's so cheap.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing 10 years ago, really. Like people brought their mugs sometimes, but now it's so accessible. It's one of the first things you could do, only if you need it. Of course, don't buy it if you don't drink coffee or tea. Like you just don't need it. Don't buy it for the sake of buying it. But non-negotiable.
Or you could just give yourself 20, 30 minutes and have a mug there.
Yes,
you just don't need it. So
yeah, just actually take time to enjoy the beverage and the place that you're in. But yeah, on that same note, a big thing that reduced a lot of waste for us was not that we bought a lot of bottled water before, but bottled water for a lot of people is essential to them. But what we did is we bought just some canteens that could.
We have 4 because sometimes we're in more remote areas where even just the bread is a problem, like for hiking.
Yeah,
so we have
but we.
Sorry, you bought what? A canteen?
Wait, I got. Okay. So we bought several canteens, just like various sizes.
Oh,
sorry. A canteen is a metal, oftentimes a metal. Yeah, here's one.
Oh, it's like a bottle.
Yeah, water. A canteen. Sorry, a little English lesson for U.S. English lesson. Canteen for us is a container for liquids that one typically takes on a hike. It's usually made out of metal, but can also be made of other things as well. So that's what we call them. In French, it's called a bidon, if that helps. But yeah, that's what we do. So we have these closed water containers that we bring with us, and they're just in our, like the cup holders. And most importantly, to cut down on bottle waste, like plastic waste, is we bring a filtered water pitcher with us.
Yes.
It's because we're realizing, like, if you're in a hotel room or an Airbnb, you have access to a sink. But if you can filter that water and make sure it's clean, why not just use that sink? So we just got a pitcher about yay big, and we just, everywhere we go, we bring it. And
we were perfect for Yosemite.
yeah, exactly. We didn't have to buy any bottled water.
So is this like, when you're saying this picture, is this like a bottle that you press a button on or something and it sterilizes the inside? Is that?
No, this one is one where it's basically just
square looking thing.
Yeah, ours is like oval shape, but yay.
It looks like a normal pitcher you would put on a table, and if it just had normal water in it, but it has a filter in it. So when you pour the water into it, it filters down before it hits the container.
Exactly. And yeah, there, if anyone's ever worried about that too, there are those that are just made of charcoal or other natural products that can filter the water without having to use excess plastic, if that's ever something someone's worried about. And yeah, we've had a good success with that. We haven't had to buy any bottled water in ages. I can't even remember the last time I did. So
no, you haven't had to buy it in years.
Huh?
Yeah, we haven't bought it in years.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
That was the point. So yeah,
it's really good. And canteens, like, because it's metal, those metal bottles, this is another use. I recommend getting them as normal drink bottles anyway, because you can also, it's also, a lot of them are insulated. So you can have soup, tea, and it's multi-purpose. So it's also not only environmental, but you're saving yourself money by not having multiple Tupperwares or something that have this, but canteen, right?
Yeah. We have a few different shapes. So we have one with like a wider mouth that's like for smoothies or soups, and this one's just like a normal.
Yeah, we still use them even while we're housebound. We've been continuing to use it for that reason. It's just like, I want to keep this coffee hot, overnight. So there you go.
Jeez.
Yeah, I should note too, like, we try very hard to go in the direction of zero waste. So that is our goal, but
no one's expecting it to be perfect. No,
exactly that. Like, we're saying, like, the perfect is like the goal or the direction we go into, but we know that it's impossible to be perfect 100% of the time. So what we do is just do our best, and that's what we encourage others to do too. Is just do your best with, and look for ways where you can eliminate excess waste or disposables.
Absolutely, but also as time goes, I think it's going to be easier to reach for the best, because as technology and innovation strives forward, like, there's like 5 options that I can think of off the top of my head just to reduce plastic bottled water. So there's also SteriPens. I'm not sure if you heard of that, but you put it in the water and it sterilizes it. There's bottled bottles similar to a canteen, but you press a button on the top, and with a UV light, it swirls the water and sanitizes it. So as you go, it's going to get a lot easier, especially when it comes to travel bugs like ourselves. And I think for now, the keep cups, like you said, straws, keeping Tupperware in a glove box for anyone who's driving, that's just the way to go.
Absolutely. And that's a great product. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's SteriPens are like $120 or so, and those bottles are maybe about $150. You don't want to lose them, but from what I know, they should last forever. So they don't have like a shelf life or anything like that. Now, on the topic of zero waste, is there a purchase that you've made in the past year or two, whatever, that's really made you happy in terms of how sustainable your life is?
Product, I would say,
is the keep cup.
Keep cup, obviously. Keep cup, and really that water pitcher, the filter.
And what does that cost? Like $5, $10?
Oh, I think it's like 15.
Yeah, $5 US, which is not expensive at all compared when you consider like how much bottled water costs.
And also, that's $1 there, $2 there, bottled water.
Exactly.
So you're doing yourself a service by getting something like a pitcher.
Yeah.
But also bringing that and not forgetting it.
Yeah.
Which is hard. I want to go on the topic of small business, because I read your blog this morning about the big business, small business that you wrote, and I want to talk in the case of a small business for now, only because in small businesses, any staff member generally has a say in what the goal is. With like big chains like Starbucks, it's kind of hard to bring any kind of innovation or anything like that. But have you ever had a chat to them locally, directly or indirectly through social media, about how they can adapt to more social, sustainable business practices? Like when you go in and see something, have you ever, something bad you think, like straws, have you ever confronted them about that?
The stores we go into tend to be kind of on our level, like our philosophy of like reducing waste. So I've never seen someone just like throwing straws, at every customer and being like, "Yay, disposables
You've
for all."
definitely written to some businesses and advised them. You've also written to some cafes asking for more vegan options. So it generally comes with emails after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, because I do plan pretty well,
That's
I
what I'm
kind of
thinking.
know, like I look up and I see, oh, they have vegan options. Oh, I can tell they're like, I see photos of the front and I can see they have reusable options, or I've read notes that they're great with the cups. And so we end up visiting those businesses that already kind of have that mentality.
Yeah. But actually, Bree, you're bringing a good point. Yeah, there are some where it's not that they're being malicious about using disposables or anything like that, but they're just not aware of alternatives that like reusables. There have been many cafes, especially in the center of the Midwest, where plant-based milks aren't in cafes there. So
that's good for you because you just like you're black.
Yeah, exactly. But I know there are,
and I get tea.
Yeah. But I know that there aren't. Not everyone shares my taste preferences. So in that situation, what I do is, if the owner there or someone who can make the decisions is present and we're already talking with them, first, I never try to like pontificate. I never try to go like, "Hey, you know what you should do is you should definitely have nachos, because you know why? That's the right thing to do." That's like the ugly.
Well, we're not preachy vegans.
Yeah, we're not trying. But I just kind of, if we're already in a discussion, we already established kind of like friendly stuff. I don't bring that up first, but then I just say like, "Oh, hey, you know what? Have you ever heard of oat milk or almond milk or any of those, any plant-based options?" And they'll kind of often go, "Oh yeah, like I heard of it, but I wasn't really thinking about it all that much." And then just like, "Oh, have you like?" Why is like, and then I ask like, "Why is that? What's, is there something wrong about it you don't like to do?" It's like, "Oh, I thought it was so expensive." And then I mentioned like, "Hey, actually it's the pricing of all that is going down and supply is increasing." And
there are many options now.
Yeah. And then I just kind of just say, there are many options, and I just say, like at least give it a consideration. And I know that there are a lot of people like me who would love to come here if they knew that was available.
Yeah.
And when, as soon as you mention things like, "Oh, hey, more people will come," and they're like, "What?
Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, more business?
And you can charge 50 cents more, although that's not good. I'd pay it,
Yeah,
exactly. Fortunately, in the US, I heard Starbucks, knock on wood, they'll do this, but they're going to do away with charging more. So hopefully, places like that,
it's so
not
rare.
That we really go there.
We don't go there.
I see it like sometimes some of the vegan places around like Melbourne and in Australia actually have a sign at the front saying, "We don't charge you extra for plant milks." And it's so obscure to me. Like, you have so many options of what to write on that sign, and that's what you choose to write. I find that hilarious.
Well, we'd walk in.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd walk in. Yeah, for sure. In terms of like the businesses big and small now, when you travel, what are the differences? I know there is a post on this as well, but could you share with us as an individual what your effect on the community could be, shopping, big chain or small chain?
That's you. You just did a nice piece on that.
Yeah. So your question is, what is the individual impact on small businesses as opposed to large?
How am I voting with my dollar? What does that mean?
Great. Yeah. On our website, there is an article about that. So let's say if you spent money on, like, if you spend $10 an ad on Amazon, and it's the amount of money or the percentage of those $10 is much less than that of spending it for a small business. So like a fraction of the $10 would go back into the local economy where you live. Maybe it goes to like the drivers in your area to deliver the thing for you, but the value of your dollar does not go back into your own community. It doesn't take care of like things like municipality projects or anything like that. But if you spend locally, like a small shop, more of that $10 goes towards more of the local economy that you're in. So in that case, a greater percentage, if not all of it, will go to paying the workers who are working at the small boutique shop. They're paying basically for the rent of the owner, so they can actually stay in the town and continue to run the business there. They don't have to feel like they have to move away in order to sustain themselves. And also, those dollars also go to other things like just paying the rent and bringing those products that you like there in to that small business. So it's kind of long story short, more of your dollar, the more value of your dollar goes back into the local economy that way, as opposed to buying from a big store, which will then just disperse the value of your dollar to around the world, stockholders and around the world, pretty much, depending on what you're buying.
Yeah, really. And touching on that last point, which is really important, if you're spending that 10, 15, 20, or 100, doesn't matter what the amount is, and you're using that to support a local business, whether it's a friend or a stranger, that's someone in your community, then more of that can obviously go in their pocket. And then you are obviously have your own job in society, whether you're a travel agent, whether you're a builder, and then they can in turn use more of the profit that they've made to support you and do their own things, because Americans and Australians in the whole world, we save, but we don't save that much. And that's really good for the economy because it stimulates. So I want to also just mention that, yes, it's benefiting them, but in turn, it is benefiting you twofold, because you're then getting more money. Then you can spend more on luxuries and food that could, it's just more stimulating. So that's a really good point. I'm also going to jump really sideways here to Bree, but you probably have an opinion too, Ben. I want to talk about nachos for a second. Nachos, specifically nachos. You've had nachos before, I'm assuming. You're human.
I'm just double checking that it's not slang. We're talking about chips covered in cheese and stuff.
Yeah. Chips with cheese and avocado and all that. Okay. I am flabbergasted at the moment because I did a post on Instagram asking, what drink do you drink with nachos? Oh. I said chai latte, I think, because chai latte can go with any food. But I had people say this one particular drink so many times that I never ever would have thought of it. What do you think it is?
God, I hope it's not Fanta.
No. What would you pair nachos with?
It depends what's on the nachos. If it really is just, if I put a lot of veggies on it, I probably just have like a water, maybe like a white wine. And I don't even really drink at all, but it really depends like how heavy the cheese is and what the toppings are for it. So
you're super analytical about these nachos.
Yeah. Okay, what was the drink?
Margaritas.
Oh, that makes sense.
I was gonna say, because they're thinking already, this is Mexican cuisine, it's gotta be a Mexican drink.
So they're thinking nachos out at a bar, then what do you have with it? Okay.
Yeah.
I make everything at home. And I don't really order nachos out, except for the one time I've actually had nachos at a restaurant was in Banff National Park in the city of Banff. They have this one vegan restaurant and they have nachos that come with 21 ingredients on it. Jesus. And it sounds ridiculous, but it works. It's like a combination of a couple different vegan cheeses and fruits and veggies and spices. And I don't know how, but it works. So that's the only plate of nachos I would order. I don't normally just want to go to a bar and say, give me something that's salty, fattening, and doesn't have much nutritional content. Yay.
Not just that, but I wouldn't trust a bar to be like, hey, do something vegan.
It depends. But I'm not a nachos kind of eater. But if I did, I would have a margarita, I guess. I would have a margarita.
There you go. Well, that's an interesting topic. I was thinking about it all morning. Why where is life? I want to try this so hard when restaurants and cafes open up again. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Now I'm only going to ask this question.
What the hell did I think of a margarita?
I'm going to
ask. I don't drink enough.
I thought of it. But the question is to you. So
that's why. No, Ben. I said you could have put in an input. You could have put in an input.
Bad Ben.
Right. Bad Ben.
Jeez. I don't know how to say bad Ben in French, so. Just to wrap things up for now, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with, whether that's tips, tricks, advice, food, travel, blog, or anything related, life?
A lot of people have been asking us, and actually, especially now with like COVID-19, how that's going to change things, and for travel now and then afterwards. And I think this would be just a good opportunity to kind of get that answer out there. And it's that don't be afraid and prepare to think slowly. What I mean by that is part of the problems with the travel industry before is just that there's been so much rapid movement and people have kind of been thinking about places and destinations as theme parks. like New York is just a flashy place where you just, go to all the shows and all the restaurants, but you forget that there are people who live there. Same thing with the national parks in particular. We've been to so many in the past 2 years, and unfortunately, the perception of like many people is that it's a theme park to just kind of just.
You're not supposed to take a hike with a soft pretzel.
Yeah, exactly. A soft pretzel or hitting people in the head with selfie sticks. So I'm hoping in this time, now that things are going to slow down, I mean, again, this is hopeful, but we encourage people to really consider these places as homes, not just the people, but also the animals as well, and to treat it as respectfully as someone else's home. If you were a guest, your own home, or even a place of worship too. Like if people are faithful or religious like that.
Don't get a selfie with an animal. Don't stomp on the flowers. Just respect the space and respect people around you. Different cultures have different personal space boundaries. So research that if you go abroad.
Yeah, exactly. And this is no way to tell anyone like, hey, you can't have fun. Definitely have fun, but just keep in mind that you're in something else's space. And if we're respectful and mindful of that, then everyone else will benefit. You will come off as being a great guest, and we'll all learn from each other. And hopefully then the world will run a little more smoother than it was before all this started.
Absolutely. And watch Bill Gates' TED Talk.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and there's one other thing I should recommend too. Always have an audiobook on hand when you're traveling, because we love talking to each other all the time. We plan stuff out as we're traveling, but sometimes you're like,
need something long.
Yeah, sometimes you just
something that's 10 hours.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, let's have something else to talk about. Let's listen to this audiobook and then talk about it later.
I'd also like to point out that while a lot of people just talk about vegan friendly destinations, they'll mainly point out Portland, Oregon, New York City, Berlin, London. I really hope that people start to think outside of those stereotypical cities, because veganism, like we said, is everywhere. I found some of my favorite restaurants in Edmonton. I found them in New Orleans, Sedona, Arizona. What else? A couple in Vancouver. There's like a vegan coffee shop in Oakland, which is like right by San Francisco. You really never know where you're going to find someone who's really wonderful or just a great community space. And I would say just do your research beforehand, but try something out. There's more to vegan travel than the top 5. Go to Portland, Maine instead. Go to Ottawa, Ontario. Go to different parts of England. It's not just London. And definitely, Australia has plenty of vegan destinations, but I'm sure you can vouch for that it's not just like right on Bondi Beach or right now in the middle of Sydney. You can probably go a little bit out of the city and still find it. So try something new.
Always try something new. Well, just wrapping this up, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Where can we find you?
Okay. So we're on Facebook. We share daily news and some of our articles. We're also on Instagram, where we share our travel photos.
Don't forget your handle. We need that.
Yeah, it's all the same. So it's just at it's Bree and Ben on all of them. So we're on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and we have our website. And by the end of the year, we'll have a YouTube channel. But for now, we're mainly focusing on our website, and we're gonna start building a directory of vegan restaurants so people can look to us as experts in knowing not just what's vegan, but what places have options that aren't just a sandwich with lettuce and tomato in it. So that's where Happy Cow fails a bit. It's like they have options. No, they don't. So
no, they don't. Yeah.
Edible, fruitful, sustainable options.
Perfect. And I'll make sure to link all them below for you guys to easily find them. But thank you so much for joining today. And I hope you guys have a lovely evening and stay safe isolating.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Sweet. Thank you so much for watching and or listening all the way to the end. Again, if you are on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe to support the show. If you feel like these shows are valuable and could maybe inspire someone to make a more ethical travel decision, whether that's about keep cups, whether that could be the way you treat your local communities when you travel and supporting their local economy, please share the episode. It's one click away, and let's grow the community, but also grow a conscious awareness of sustainable and eco travel around the world. And until next time, much love. Peace.